right, everybody. Hope you can see me okay. Hope you can hear me okay. The sun's kind of moving through these windows right now pretty boldly. So hopefully it doesn't wash me out too badly. If you have questions about anything, put it in the chat and we can definitely address it towards the end. Or if you like to be a little bit more private, send me an email, yoga@KristenRae@gmail.com. I'll also put that in the chat there before we end class. Alternately, as I mentioned before, I have a lot to do with the org. So if you send an email to the org, I'll definitely see it as well. Okay. So stretch and rest. We start in a seated position, but that doesn't mean that's what you have to do. Really important that you understand that through this whole class, it's kind of a choose your adventure. So if I do something and that looks wildly, not possible in your body, that's okay, because there's a different way that we can do it for your body. And I'm going to give you lots of options. So hopefully some of those options resonate with you. If not, again, let me know in the chat and we'll figure it out for you. All right. So a comfortable seat for me is up on a bolster. This allows my knees to settle down, and then it allows my hips to sort of relax a little bit more. Okay. I have my phone here. I'm not on it. I'm just looking at the time. All right, so then you let your hands place them wherever it's most comfortable for you. Sometimes that could be palms up. Sometimes that's palms down. Maybe your hands are in your lap. Maybe you're laying down, right? You're doing something totally different. Whatever you're doing now, just close your eyes. Try to soften your gaze. So the space between the eyebrows, the forehead muscles. See if you can relax your jaw. And then engage your core a bit to lift up your chest. Create some space. Now, if you lifted up your chest and your knees went with you, put something underneath your knees to support you. Take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. With your next inhale, let your belly expand out in front of you. And then open up your mouth, a soft ha sound, just like letting some stress go. Inhale through your nose. Again, open mouth, exhale, let something go. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1, pause. Open mouth, exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1, pause. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1, pause. This time through your nose, exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1, pause. Inhale, 4, pause. Exhale, 4, pause. Inhale. Exhale. Now try to breathe this way on your own. Count to yourself if that helps you stay with your breath. Inhales to sit up taller. And exhales, relax your shoulders. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. When you're ready, blink your eyes open unless you prefer to keep them closed. All right. So from here, when you're ready, just roll those shoulders up and back. Go slow. Take your time. Just begin to notice. It could be very obvious where you're tight. It may not be so obvious for some. So we just move slowly to begin to notice. All right, now take those shoulders and roll them up and forwards, right? That might be unusual. Very unusual to me. All right, take your shoulders up and back now, let them settle. Let's think of engaging the core for a moment. So your core starts in the pelvic floor. So think of drawing the lower belly in and up. Draw the belly button back towards your spine. This might hunch you a little bit forward, right? So now we're going to lift the rib cage up and take a moment to roll those shoulders down and back again. Take a deep breath in. On your exhale, slowly bring your chin down towards your chest and see if you can do this without moving your shoulders. It can be hard, so you may not move that much. Just go slow. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. And just letting the chin relax down, grabbing a little stretch there in between the shoulders. You could stay here longer or begin to move your right ear towards your right shoulder. Right ear, right shoulder. If your left shoulder went up with you, bring it down. If you'd like to add to this stretch, it's called a half bind. Take your left hand across your lower back, palm will face the lower back, and then you work to lift up your chest a little. Deep breath in, slow breath out. From here, chin back down to your center, pause there, release your left hand. And when you're ready, over to the other side, left ear, left shoulder. For me, my right shoulder went with it, so I've got to bring it back down. So interesting to notice little things in your body, right? They might not be the same from week to week. And if you practice often, you might know that already. Deep breath in, slow breath out. And chin back down to your center. Think of re-engaging from the pelvic floor, from the center of the torso, lifting up your chest, your head lifts last. Okay, so now we're going to move into our side stretches. If you are new to this class, I just want to go over a couple of things with you first so we don't have to do it through every shape, right? So I can just have your attention for a moment. If you're using something like a block, and when we go to reach the arms out or in any other shape, or we're using them as sort of extensions of our limbs, then I want you to know you have these options with your hands, and they could change throughout side to side, shape to shape. So it might be palm down. If you go palm down, make sure you are not sinking your heel into whatever it is. It could be the floor. It might not be a block. From here, it might be popping up to your fingertips. From here, make sure you don't sink down into the shoulder. It's okay to bend your elbow, just don't sink into the shoulder. You might like to create a fist instead. This is a really nice option if you practice often. Just make sure you are aware of your wrist mobility and stability, because if you lose your balance, you're going to probably fall and hurt yourself, and we don't want that to happen, right? So those are your options. There are other options out there, I'm sure. Take what's best for you ultimately. Placing your right hand down to something. With your inhale, reach your left arm up and overhead. Up and overhead. This might be more like out to the side. This might be a big bend in the elbow. All of these things are okay. As you begin to open up, maybe the arm straightens. We're not so much trying to reach over to the side at first. We're trying to lengthen upwards while keeping the shoulders down and the chest lifted. So it could feel like some work. Take a deep breath in. With your exhale, begin to reach the left arm up a little more. Now see if you can isolate the arm from the shoulder. Arm up, shoulder down. Deep breath in, slow breath out. And if you feel good here, work deeper into the shape. Maybe you begin to look up or you look down, adding a little extra stretch through the neck. Maybe your body says, not today. One more breath in. With your exhale, reach. Stay for your inhale, lift through your chest. With your exhale, bring your left hand down. Now you know your options for your hands. It could be different on this side. Left hand grounds. Use your inhale to bring your right arm up and over. And when you think of bringing the right arm up and over, notice if your hips and your whole left side of your body went into the stretch. We want it to work to sit up tall first and then create that sort of half moon shape over. So it's more of a stretch from the torso rib area over than it is from the hips over. Hopefully that can make sense to you. Deep breath in, lifting up through your heart. Exhale, maybe you reach a little further. Check in with your core, pull in that core, support your spine. One more breath in. With your exhale, right hand grounds. At your own pace, use your inhale to reach your left arm up and over. And your exhale to ground. And you might choose to stay for more than 1 or 2 breaths on each side. This is all okay. These are just options, right? We're moving from side to side with our breath. Inhales create space. Exhales move us into that space. Or exhales ground us down. Inhale. Slow exhales. So just take about maybe 1 or 2 more of these on each side. Notice your knees when you move side to side. They might be lifting up. They're telling you have some tightness. Add something underneath the feet or the knees to help you. All right, when you feel pretty balanced here, come back to your center, shake it out if you need to. We're going to take the hands to the lower back. So if we are in a seat, or we are seated maybe on the edge of a piece of furniture, our hands at our lower back with the elbows in is going to be the best choice. However, you might have a chair where it's better for you to have your hands on the side or behind the back of it, offering you a different or better stretch. If you're on a bolster like me, take your hands to your lower back and then slide it down to the back of the bolster. Take your elbows, try to squeeze them in towards each other, right? You might have lots of tightness here, so those elbows might stay out, but just think of drawing them in towards each other. Engage from your core. Inhale to lift up your chest. It's going to be pronounced. Lift up your chin if it feels okay. With your exhale, chin to your chest. Keep squeezing the elbows in, and then walk your hands out in front of you. So you might have to take something with you, something like a block. If you're in a chair, you're just going to fold over your legs. From here, with a block out in front of you, press back into your hips, shoulders back. Try to lift from the chest, almost if you could bring your chest forward and your shoulders back. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. Now you might have more flexibility in this shape and bring your arms way further out. You may be seated on the floor and you're totally folded. These are all fine options. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. Lower your head down for a moment here. Try to feel a stretch in the back of your neck. And walk your hands back up towards your body. Let your head come up last. All right, we're going to move into our twist. Before we twist, it's important to know twisting is not for everyone all the time. A lot of us have lower back and hip issues. This can actually inflame this. This can make some of our discomfort in our lower back worse. So when you move into your twist, especially if you're a flexible person and you experience soreness in your lower back, consider taking less of a twist, especially for this style class, okay? So left hand, notice your left hand, right? You might have a little flip screen so it looks different. Left hand behind you or out to the side. Right hand over to your left leg somewhere. Inhale to lift up your chest. And with your exhale, lead with your left shoulder into your twist, right? So we're twisting with the shoulder first, left shoulder back. And then maybe you look over your left shoulder. Both shoulders draw down. Lifting up your chest on your inhale. Twist a little bit deeper, excuse me, on your exhale. So pulling in the core, ground from the hips. Inhale to lift your chest. Exhale to twist. Come back through your center and pause there for a moment. When you're ready, move to the other side. Right hand behind you or out to the side. Left hand over to the right leg. Inhale, sit up tall, lift your chest. With your exhale, lead with your right shoulder into your twist. Notice how that could change the whole twist for you. If you've never twisted starting from your shoulder, notice the difference. Pulling in from the core. If you lean back into your pelvis, this might be a natural movement for you. Sit a little bit more forward. See if that gives you space. Deep breath in. Exhale and twist. Belly button draws in, shoulders down, lifting up your heart. One more breath in. And slowly move back to your center. Wiggle it out, shake it out, whatever you need to do. All right, we are going to take one more chest lift into a forward fold, and then we'll move into some leg stretches. So if you're up on a bolster, maybe you think, I don't need to be on a bolster for this next stretch, right? Because we've already done this once. You might have more flexibility, which gives you more range of motion. So we'll take the hands behind us in some fashion. Inhale to lift up the chest, elbows in. With your exhale, begin to walk the hands forward into your second fold. So maybe you just have the fingertips down and you don't need a block. Fine. Make sure that you're drawing your shoulders back and you feel those elbows kind of spiral underneath. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. Now you might like to have a block underneath your head if you're really close to the floor here. That's a nice option for softening the shoulders. Deep breath in. And slow breath out. Lower your head down. And walk your hands back to your body, lifting up your head last. All right, so I'm on a bolster. I'm going to lower to the ground. If you have more tightness in the hamstrings, knees, hips, all that good stuff, you may need to add a bolster here. Okay, we're going to start with a separate leg stretch. Right leg out to the right, left foot into the right thigh. If you're thinking there's no way that this is happening in my body, it's not a problem. I've just been in this shape for a long time, like many, many years. That's the only reason I can do it. So you can start with your left leg all the way out, and your knee might be way up in the air, a very common shape. Pop something up under your knee to help support you, and that way you don't have to worry about your left knee so much. All right, and then over time, you bring the heel in. Maybe you lower the block down. It's possible none of that ever happens. You might need the support under the right knee instead, right? So there's lots of options here. Flex the right foot and then point the toes away from you. We're going to do this multiple times, flexing and pointing. And then try taking some circles around your ankle. Really common for this to feel a little bit grainy, or like maybe you feel little pops happening. And try to move that in another direction. This gets easier over time. Could be a lot of time though, but it does get easier. So flex your foot, sit up tall, almost like you're sitting, rocking forward into your pelvis. Take your hands to either side of your right leg. If you can't reach the floor, hey, you've got things hopefully to bring the floor closer to you. Twist your torso towards the right leg. Inhale to lift up your chest. And with your exhale, use that core and hinge forward, hinging, right? So we're not pressing into the lower back to reach forward. We're sitting up tall to hinge forward. And it might just be a little bit of movement in the beginning, but it will change over time. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. Now check in with your elbows. We have a history of just keeping our elbows out. So bring them in, try to seal them in towards your sides, almost like you can just like you're holding yourself in place. Deep breath in, slow breath out. Okay, if you can, lower your head down and slowly roll up. Let your head come up last, and we'll switch it out for the other side. Now you might need something totally different on this side. Listen to your hamstrings, right? If your hamstrings are just hating this, if the back of your knees are feeling like there's a huge pull, put something underneath them so they don't have to work so hard. They will gain more flexibility that way. All right, support yourself where it's needed. Take a look at your left foot, flex and point, flex and point. And then move through some circles. Whatever you do in one direction, just try the best you can to balance it out the other way. Sometimes those opposite directions can feel very different. It's okay. I see a message there. I can't read it right now, but I will get to it before we end class. Okay, flex your foot, sit up tall. Take your hands to either side of the left leg, twisting the torso, lift through the chest, breathing in. On your exhale, hinge forward, elbows in. And notice, are you leaning a little bit to the left? Try to keep the hips a little more square, even out the weight. It might take away from the stretch in the front of the body or the back of the hamstrings, but over time, it'll work better together. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. And lower your head down if you like, and slowly make your way up, lifting up your head last. All right, send the right leg out, pretty much like where the left one is, creating a V shape. If you're a very mobile, flexible person and you like a big wide straddle, bring it in for this class anyways. Rock a little bit left and right through your hips. Put something underneath your butt if that's going to make it more comfortable for you. Then flex your feet. Maybe you like to have something out in front of you. And when you're ready, just begin to hinge a little bit forward. This is just a little bit of movement at a time. Flexing the feet. Now, if you walk with your toes out, that's probably what your feet are doing here as well. So think of drawing them in. This is going to feel like a little more work. Internal rotation of the thigh could be helpful. And you can manipulate that just by taking your hands to the inner thigh and sort of wrapping that muscle around. And we're still engaging the core. Don't worry, we'll stop doing that soon. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. Lower your head down and slowly roll yourself back up. And we'll go into our hip opener. All right, so similar when we did our separate leg stretch, if your knees are not going to come in, you're just going to start at the beginning and support yourself there and just be so safe, right? And take your time, because inner thigh muscles, groin muscles, they can pull so easily and you may never know it. So well, you wouldn't know it until maybe a few days from now, right? All right, so we're going to take the legs out in front to begin. And then as it's available, maybe the feet touch. Then maybe those heels move in farther. Now, if this is about where you're going to stop, you have two options, and then I'll go over where we deepen from there. You press into the feet. You might need something underneath the knees to support you, especially if you're kind of like bouncing, your muscles are really reacting to this. Put something underneath you. You can have your hands around the ankles, or you can take your hands underneath and hinge forward this way. When you get closer in the body, like the heels begin to move closer to the body, you lose that option of taking the hands underneath. So then the hands stay on top, elbows in, hinging forward. All right. Over time, you might be able to bring the heels all the way into the inner thighs and wrap your fingers around the toes. From here, we try to press the knees down, but we don't want to hurt our knees to press them down, right? So you have to have a really good awareness of what's going on in this part of your body to even get to the shape. But there may be some people in class that are very familiar with this, especially if they ever had like an Ashtanga style practice. So from here, we lift up from the chest, deep breath in. And with your exhale, you just hinge forward wherever you are. And this could just be hinging forward an inch, right? You feel the stretch in the inner thigh, no pain in the knees. Maybe add support if something feels really bad, right? But you still want the stretch maybe in the lower back. So support the extra tight places. Breathe, right? A lot of us hold our breath. So slide those shoulders back away from your ears. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. And if you like, lower your head down and slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time. Head comes up last. Now, wherever you are, try to take your hands to the outside of the legs to help you bring your legs back together and send your legs straight out in front of you. Rock a little bit left and right. Pick up anything under your seat that's in the way, that's attached to your body. Flex both feet. Sit up tall, core engaged. Deep breath in. With your exhale, hinge forward. So when we hinge, right, we are asking the back line of the body to stretch big time. So you might feel this in the ankles, the calves. If you feel intense pulling in the back of the knees, you should bend your knees and do this stretch that way, or put some support underneath you. If you feel good in this shape, you can take your arms maybe down to the floor. At the point where the shoulders are forward, you're rounding into the lower back just to get more flexibility forwards. You're kind of losing the whole purpose of this. It's more of like a Gumby stretch, and which is fine. If that's what you want to do, go for it. But if you want to work with the actual alignment of the body in a chain reaction, you flex from the feet, internal rotation of the thighs to kick out. You keep lengthening up from the torso to hinge forward. So it's almost a pushing back in the hips, a pushing forward from the heels, a lifting from the chest, shoulders and elbows back. Notice your chin too. You might start to lead with your chin, so bring it in. One more breath here. Slow breath out. And slowly make your way back up. All right, so we're going to move into the restorative portion of our class, which means we're not going to work on engaging the core. We're not going to be kind of doing that musculature, working in alignment thing to protect our bodies. Now we're going to protect our bodies by using things, right? So if you haven't quite gathered enough pillows, blankets, whatever that you think you might need for practice, go ahead and get that now. The average time we are in some of these shapes, because it's a shorter class, it's a 45-minute class, we will be on these for maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes on each side, sometimes less, sometimes more. And if you want to stay in these shapes longer than is offered, please do. You can stay in these restorative shapes, 15 minutes sometimes, okay? So we're going to start in a back bend or a chest opener, right? Sometimes back bend gives us anxiety, so you can think of it as a chest opener instead. Starting with something to support your body. You may like to have an incline, especially if you have lower back pain, maybe pregnant, maybe you have some allergies or a cough going on. Give yourself a little incline. You can set it up however works best for you. There's a lot of different ways to do this. You can even have a little pillow on top of your bolster to make it a little more comfortable, for whatever tightness you might have going on. And then we're going to lower back. If you're like me and you have a bunch of drinks around you, just make sure you know where they are. I can't tell you how many drinks I've spilled in a restorative class, especially in the studio. All right, so begin to lower back over your stuff. For me, it's a bolster. And you want to feel like your shoulders can relax. So if your arms are down by your sides, but you're kind of like lifting up from the shoulders, or your arms aren't quite touching the floor, maybe the fingertips are just touching the floor, then you need to give yourself some more support. So hopefully you have those things around you. Some options would be blocks underneath the arms. Palms up is a nice way to get a little bit more opening from the chest, but you might have a rotator cuff issue that says don't do that, or an old surgery that says don't do that. So then you go palms down instead. And from here, if you want to add a hip opener, that hip opener we did a few minutes ago with the feet together and the knees open, that's a fine option here. But please add support because now we're not using muscles. So we need to protect ourselves with our things, right? So a block underneath the thigh or the knee, even a block underneath the feet can help settle the knees, okay? You can have a bolster underneath both knees, so it's more like just a lay down supine situation. We'll close the eyes now if you haven't. Relax your jaw, space between your eyes. And then as you feel the inhale move through the body, think of creating space. And on your exhale, think of where you can soften, scan your body, soften your shoulders, your core, your hips, your heels. And you take time to move through these parts of your body. You take time to kind of internally talk to them and say, right shoulder, relax. Left hip, relax. Over time, it does work. So there'll be some quiet now, and I'll let you know when it's time to move on. Scanning your body. Notice areas that are going to start to re-engage. And make a conscious effort to remind them to relax. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. Before you begin to move to our next shape, wiggle your fingers and your toes. Take your arms across your body and let your shoulders close like a little hug. If you were in a hip opener, begin to close the knees. And then everyone else, if you like, you can bring your big toes together. Maybe point them away from your body, a little stretch. And when you're ready, slowly come up and we'll move to a side stretch. So both knees out to the right. Take your bolster or whatever you're using that's similar. I press it up to my hip. That works best for me. I'm also 5'9", so this bolster works out perfect for my height. I know that that's not everyone's story. So do the best you can to support the space between that curve in the waistline and where your ribs are. Then take the right arm down. Take a block with you to catch your hand. It might be a pillow instead. And then bring your head down to something. This could be a pillow. For me, my right arm works just fine. Sometimes I can bring the head down to the bolster, but you kind of lose a little bit of alignment. It's not wrong, though. You could do it if it was comfortable. All right, so left hand can go down by your side. Left hand can go behind you, but if it goes behind you, make sure it touches the floor, not hanging out, so supported. Another option would be across the body and just placing it down, but not bearing any weight, just placing it down. Sometimes people like to have the arm overhead. This is not my personal favorite because this is where I have tightness, so I feel like I'm working the whole time here where I prefer to relax. So if you work better there, it's not wrong. You might like to do something I haven't even thought about or been taught or seen. So if that works better for you, do that. Close your eyes and think of moving from the top of your head down to your toes. Where can you get those places in your body to relax a little bit more? How can you learn to communicate with your body to let go of stuff? You can start with your breath. In this shape, it'll be really common for the hips and the glutes to start recruiting, to start re-engaging. So you may need to focus attention in those areas. For me, it's my right thigh and right glute. I have to constantly remind them to chill out here. If you'd like to stay in this shape, you don't need to do anything. If you'd like to add a twist, which does go a little bit towards belly down, and it helps to open up the space in the lower back, like the coccyx area. You'll place your left hand down, push yourself up, slide your right arm back to meet the left, so your hands are in the same place on both sides. Then lifting up from the chest, stretch the chest upwards, and bring your upper body down. Nothing has changed in the legs, right? It's just through the torso. And then you can look to the right. That's technically a deeper twist, but that doesn't mean that it's the safer thing for your body. So do what's most comfortable for you. I recommend a little bit of half and half if it's available to you. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. And when you're ready, head back to your center. Slowly begin to make your way up. And then wherever you are, take your left hand out past your left leg, pop up to the fingertips, reach the right arm up. Just a nice little side stretch here coming out of this shape. Place the right hand down and we're going to move to the other side. So sometimes I lose the audio when I go to the left, but just remember, we're going to do the exact same thing we just did on the other side. What's different is what's available in your body. So turn the knees over to the left. Find that bolster or whatever similar support you're using up to the left hip. Left arm down, catch your left arm on something.
Now the right hand can be by your side. Behind you, remember I said if it's behind you, not to let the hand hang. So if it's hanging at the lower back, try to put a block or something underneath it to catch it, maybe a pillow. And it could go across the body or overhead. And it could be different on this side from the last side. And if you like to add the twist here, place your right hand down. Push yourself up, left arm slides back, lift up from your chest. Bring the upper body down slowly, mindfully, right? Be careful. And then lift to the left or to the right or half and half or something else entirely. And when you're ready, bring your head to center, begin to push yourself up. Right hand out past your right leg with your inhale, left arm up and over. Exhale and bring it down. Okay, so our final restorative shape will also bring us into Shavasana, which is the Sanskrit term for the final shape in our yoga class today. It also translates into corpse pose. So even though that sounds a little bit morbid, the point is that the practice is stillness. Okay, so you might like to do this shape with your legs up the wall. You might have a chair that your legs can go up where they're bent, and that feels a little bit more comfortable for you as well. You might like to take your bolster. That might be what's available to you, right? And then from there, you can add something underneath the bolster, kind of just build to give yourself a little incline. And then place your legs on top of it, right? So we just want to get a little bit of inversion going here, kind of get the lymphatic fluid and just blood flow to just move in a different direction for a few minutes, right? Some of you are familiar with legs up the wall, so do the best version of that you can in your body, with the option to always be therapeutic, especially in this class. So if you wanted to add a weighted blanket over your hips, maybe you have some anxiety, you need to feel a little bit more grounded, that is a really nice option. A weighted blanket or like little weighted sandbags that you can put over your hips, they can be very helpful there. If your legs are up the wall and they're straight, you might have to put a little bend in them. If you have a hard time keeping your legs together and your legs are up the wall, you could put a belt or a strap around your thighs and it will hold them together. If you're like me and you're just using a bolster, just make sure you feel steady and supported. And anywhere you feel like you need to be more comfortable, add something to help you with that. Because if you're worried about comfort, then you're not thinking or releasing, letting go of muscular tension, right? You're thinking about something else. If you're thinking about anything, I want you to think about, how can I relax more? How can I stop my thought process and just breathe? And it's practice, so you may have to start over a million times. So we'll close the eyes, relaxing the jaw. And we'll be here for a few minutes. We will end class at a seat with a breathing exercise if you'd like to stay. If you have to go, I totally understand. Hope you'll join us next week. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. You may like to stay here for much longer. If your time allows, please do so. You might like to take a stretch. If your arms are by your sides, maybe you reach them overhead. If your legs are up the wall, just start to bend them in towards your body and roll to whatever side is safest for you. And I'll meet you up at your seat. Take your time. There's really no glamorous way to get there. Not that I have found. All right, everybody. From here, sit up tall. Roll your shoulders back. Re-engage your core just a little bit to help you sit up tall. Take a deep breath in. Through your nose, exhale. Let it be forceful. Hold air out. Inhale. Exhale. You might feel this in your throat. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Normal breathing pattern now. So if it is a part of your practice, place your palms together at the center of your chest, Anjali Mudra. And you might take a moment here to thank your body for what it's capable of. Thank your mind for supporting you and taking this class today. And I thank you all so much for joining me in Upalas Yoga. Namaste.